Today on Queensland Weekender.
That is the sweetest sound ever.
Any rev heads out there? Join me as I journey to the annual Leyburn Sprints.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
With a detour to take in the history and hospitality of the Darling Downs.
This is where the great man Steele Rudd called home. G'day and welcome to Queensland Weekender for another Saturday afternoon, and welcome to the beautiful Darling Downs in the southeast corner of our great state. Now on today's show I'm going on a little road trip because I'm on my way to the Leyburn Sprints. Now this is a motor racing event which is a highlight on the calendar around these parts. The town's population grows from 300 to 15,000 people in the space of a few days. 200 classic and modern cars pitted against each other, all vying for a trophy around the streets of the town. Dick Johnson is even going to be racing there. I'm a little bit excited, I can't wait. But there are a few days to kill in the Downs before I get there. Not worried in the least because there is plenty to see and do around these parts. So without further ado, let's hit the road.
The options for scenic drives and leisurely stopovers in the Darling Downs are huge. So to help light the way for the first leg of my journey towards Leyburn, I've recruited some experts.
So what does qualify these blokes as experts? Well, look around. They clearly love cars, and what's more, they love driving them. A few of them even heading down to the Leyburn Sprints slowly, I might add. And at any given weekend, you'll find them cruising around the beautiful Darling Downs on a relaxing day drive. So what do you get when you mix up veteran and vintage cars with the Darling Downs? Well, of course, you get the Darling Downs Veteran and Vintage Motor Club. Righto, let's go.
The club is based in Toowoomba and its rally director is Pat Murphy.
We started as a veteran and vintage motor club, and we started 40 years ago this year. That we accept any vehicle that's 30 years old or older.
To get the new breed in.
That's right, so we can cater for cars built up to 1980 now, and that would include the very first model Commodore.
One of the club's favourite day drives is one that snakes its way through the tiny towns of Wairima, Cambuya and Greenmount.
When you do come to town, make sure you swing by the old Wairima Hall. This is the old stage curtain. The young school kids used to raise it before a concert or something like that. And you can see all the old advertisers on there. So you've got the Toowoomba Chronicle, Rexona, the Drapery, which would have been just over the road. So yeah, that is a real slice of history. Well worth checking out.
The drive to Greenmount is only about 20 kilometres and it's on quiet, picturesque back roads.
So do you just love driving around the Darling Downs?
I really enjoy this part of the restoration hobby. Restoring a car is great fun, but being able to drive it is just something else.
It's got, you hear about that new car smell? This has got that old car smell, which I haven't smelled in a long time. The leather seats,
That's
leather
right.
interiors.
Yeah.
And these things get out. How good's that to chuck a tape in? Let's play some tunes. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's ride.
Cambuya isn't far down the road, only about 5 minutes, and it's a popular stop for drivers thanks to this place, the Bull and Barley Inn. It offers up an authentic 1900s old world atmosphere, comfy accommodation and a mouth-watering menu.
These are photos of, I bought these cars in about 1976. I paid $5 for 2 of them. They were fairly dilapidated.
This is Trevor Hoffman's pride and joy, his restored 1926 Dodge 4 Tourer.
People tell you are nuts. Like, that is bare bones. That looks like a pile of junk on wheels, mate.
Well, that's what I was told when I bought it home. I was asked why I bought it home, but it was a good start.
Trevor spends much of his free time restoring old cars. He absolutely loves it. Now, he traces his love of the automobile back to 1949, when he witnessed the Australian Grand Prix, which was held just down the road in Leyburn.
Yeah, well, at that stage I was probably 4.5-year-old, and
But you were there?
Yep, I was there, and I can still recall my father's best friend sat us up on the vinyl hood on Dad's car, and we were allowed to sit up high so we could see the races.
That is amazing. That's an incredible part of history, and you were there.
Yep, we were there. Yep. Yeah.
Last stop, the charming township of Greenmount. Population, sneaky 300.
You know, what Greenmount lacks in size, it definitely makes up for in beauty. This is such a pretty little area and well worth the drive when you come out this way. It's surrounded by horse studs and dairy farms and various crops. And in the cemetery just outside of town, there's an interesting link to a piece of Australian literary history in that this is the gravesite of Jack Slater. You might remember the character of Cranky Jack in the novel On Our Selection by Steele Rudd. In fact, many of the surrounding areas have a link to Steele Rudd and some of the characters in his novels, because this is where the great man Steele Rudd called home.
Well, it's time for me to leave my new friends behind and continue down the road to Leyburn. Next stop, Warwick. I'll see you there after the break.
I'd like to tell you a little story, if I may. Warwick, 1917, and the Prime Minister of the time, Billy Hughes, was visiting town. Now, while he was giving a speech at the railway station, someone in the crowd got an egg, threw it at the PM, knocked off his hat. As you can imagine, he was none too pleased about this and kindly ordered the man arrested, but for whatever reason, the state police refused to carry out the order. So a few days later, when the PM returned to Canberra, he appointed a commissioner for the Commonwealth Police. Now, this eventually led to the formation of the Australian Commonwealth Police. So he wouldn't have to worry about insubordinate state police ever again. In short, we have the Australian Federal Police all because of a Warwick local. Thanks, Warwick, I think.
Yep, and there are plenty more golden nuggets like that in Warwick's history. You just have to go digging for them. Sorry about the pun. But what if there's a problem? You know, like you don't know where to start looking, or you just need a break from behind the wheel. Well, that's where Steve Marsden's Warwick Country Tours comes in. Now, he endeavours to show locals and visitors some of the region's best spots.
A pretty common phenomena that locals don't do local things.
Yeah.
Locals, I know people who have lived in Warwick 30 and 40 years and who have never been to Glengullen. They've never been to Pringle Cottage.
Amazing. Yeah.
And the first time they go there, they're astounded, and they didn't realise that Warwick had so much.
Now, our first stop for the day is Pringle Cottage, aka the Warwick Historical Society Museum.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Pringle Cottage Museum Complex.
Pringle Cottage was the home of local architect John McCulloch. He built it in 1872, and nowadays it serves as the centrepiece for the museum. It's dressed in early Victorian and Edwardian periods, and it gives visitors a real peek into early colonial life on the Downs.
And all this has been donated, everything that's...
Everything in the whole museum has been donated by local Shire residents, so it's virtually a history of our Shire.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Who looks after it, like the staff?
Volunteers.
Brilliant.
All volunteers.
The museum also boasts antique vehicles, machinery, and if you just happen to need any household essentials, a general store.
That cast on?
That's cast on, yes.
Oh, you're joking. How big were the biceps on the ladies those days?
I think they must have been fairly strong.
Can you lift that?
Yes, I can lift it, but I don't think I'd like to do 5 hours ironing with it.
That is dead set heavy.
Warwick Country Tours offers a pub tour that takes in some of the region's very best, like the Blue Cow Hotel in charming Little Allara, which is just down the road from Warwick. Quick story for you. The Blue Cow once sported the not-so-imaginative name of the Allara Royal Pub. But after an inspirational trip to Mount Blue Cow in the Snowies, the owner, Denise Dalglish, decided it was time for a new name and a colourful makeover to boot.
It's a really good feel to this pub. It's It's like the cheers of the Darling Downs. How everyone knows your name.
Well, that's pretty true. In small towns you do.
Nearby in Clifton, it's lunch at the very pink but also very historic Club Hotel, before we head to what many consider to be a real highlight in these parts.
When you come out to the Downs, make sure you pop in to see this place, Glengallon Homestead. And luckily for me, that's exactly what Warwick Country Tours does. It was built by early pastoralists in the 19th century, and in its day, it represented the height of wealth and luxury. And it was abandoned for 70 years and fell into a state of disrepair, to say the least. But new life has been breathed into the old girl, and she's looking pretty good.
Claire Snitchling volunteers for the Glengallon Trust. Now, this is the organisation that has really nursed Glengallon back to health.
And so many people now come on a Sunday and they say, I've driven past between Warwick and Toowoomba so many times and I always meant to come and look. And they love it because they were the ones who were grieving over it when it was falling into ruin.
Fantastic,
and now they can see it's been brought back to this state. It's really a joy.
Okay, let me list a few things you should not miss when you visit Glengallon. First, Eliza's Cafe, open weekends for lunch, food delicious. Second, Myrtle, the mummified cat, discovered during the restoration.
And we believe that when the house was built, that cat was actually alive and entombed under the floorboards. And the belief was then that the cat would keep away the spirits.
And last but not least, wait for it, the bathroom, home to the colony's first flushing toilet.
Those families that had the first television, they had the first flushing toilet around.
Yes, they were at the forefront in their day. This man was creating a big impression. He built a house to impress people, and so he put in everything modern and he spared no expense, and he was very generous.
Show off, wasn't he?
I think he was a bit.
Now buckle up, viewers, because after the break I'm heading to the Leyburn Sprints.
So I've got one more night up my sleeve before I head to the Sprints tomorrow. And how's this for a little piece of symmetry? My accommodation for the night, the Pit Stop Lodge. Great little place. Let me show you around.
There's room for up to 12 people and it's self-contained. The rooms are extremely comfy and it's within walking distance of Warwick CBD. Big ticks in my book. Now, I mentioned symmetry before. Well, here's some more. The owner of the Pit Stop Lodge is Eve Stocks. And guess what? She's racing in the Leyburn Sprints tomorrow.
Is that a cobra?
Yes, it is. Well, I'd like to say that it's a real one, but it is a replica.
Doesn't matter. That is beautiful. The most things most mums do is fast walking.
Yes, that's right.
You get in cobras and race them around tracks.
Well, I don't walk a lot.
This will be Eve's 13th time, if you can believe that, competing at the Leyburn Sprints, and she's also squeezed in a few laps at the legendary Mount Panorama.
I did 200 k's an hour down Conrod Straight.
Brilliant. You can't beat that, can you?
No, there's nothing quite like that.
It's like going to the moon. What do I do now?
I don't think that I've been that fast in the car before because there's been nowhere to do it.
All right. I've got one last question. Do you know what it's going to be?
Can you have a ride in the car?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that. Yeah, why not?
Excellent. Cool. All right, do it. Start it up. Start it up. That is the sweetest sound.
The guttural roar of a V8 engine, music to the male ear. And actually, as it turns out, quite a few female ears too. Anyway, enough chat, let's get on with it.
Welcome, folks, to the little old town of Leyburn. Now, back in the old days, Leyburn was a booming gold town. And then when the gold rush quietened down, so did the town itself. That was until 1949, when something very special happened.
And that something was the Australian Grand Prix. So, here's the obvious question. How did Leyburn, population 150 at the time, attract the nation's biggest motor racing event? Well, easy, actually. There was a private airstrip right out of town, and it was just about the only one in Queensland that wasn't being used by the military. This is the airfield today. It's more of a paddock now, but there is a plaque that commemorates that great event. But local Michael Collins wanted to take things a little further. He wanted to commemorate the Grand Prix by bringing some of that racing glory back to Leyburn. So, 14 years ago, Michael created the annual Leyburn Sprints.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be like this. I really thought we'd just have a few cars running up and down the gravel strip.
You must get amazed, even like today, where you're walking around thinking, this is a bona fide event that people love.
It is.
An event it is. About 20,000 people descend on Leyburn each year to enjoy a weekend of vintage motor racing, camping, eating, drinking. Oh, put it in your diaries. That's all I'm going to say.
Who better to take me around? The man that started the Leyburn Sprints.
Now, while I'm cruising around the track, this may be a good time to mention that all the proceeds from the sprints are injected back into the town. Over the years, the monies raised have helped the local school, church, RSL, historical society and plenty more. Fantastic.
Well, it may not look like it, but this machine can move. Mike barely opened it up and it just hammered down the straight. And this sound, hear the gurgle and splutter of a genuine 1937 V8 motor. It's got a sound of its own. That was awesome. That was awesome.
Do not go anywhere, viewers, after the break. There's more action from the sprints and I even meet a motor racing legend. Pre-war IndyCar replicas, Mustangs, Monaros, GT Falcons, Cortinas, Alphas. You can see them in a museum or you can come to Leyburn and see them where they belong, on a racetrack. At the annual Leyburn Sprints, it works like this. The 1 kilometre circuit starts at the historic Royal Hotel and it runs through the streets of the town. It's one car at a time and each driver is vying for the fastest lap.
Now there's many reasons why the Leyburn Sprints are unique, but here's one more. How many races in Australia could you watch it from your own balcony? Not many, if any. I'm currently walking down pit lane of the Leyburn Sprints. Now, a little bit dissimilar to that of the V8 Supercar Series, as you can imagine. In fact, this has got to be one of the most up-close and personal motor racing events you could go to. You can grab yourself a pie and a coffee and then head over and look under the hood of one of these incredible machines, say good day to a mechanic, or even have a chat to an absolute legend of Australian motorsport.
Legends like 5-time Australian touring car champion Dick Johnson.
So, mate, what brings an absolute legend of Australian motor racing to the Leyburn Sprints?
Look, this is such a historic event and it's very, very well supported, you know, not only by competitors, but it gets a lot of people here. And Leyburn's got a lot of history over the years.
Oh, yeah, so I'm finding out this morning.
Yeah, it's one of those places that you've just got to come to every now and then. And to come here and have the opportunity of driving some of these older cars and just having a bit of fun for the whole weekend, that's what it's all about.
You say that, but I bet when you do get behind that wheel, it does get a little bit competitive, mate. You're not going to let anyone pass you.
Well, we'll pretend.
Nearby in pit lane is Peter Gostelau, who's been driving the very car that came second in the 1949 Australian Grand Prix.
It's an MGTC, supercharged at 12.5 pounds, and it runs methanol or alcohol.
So not only do you own a fantastic piece of history, you're racing a fantastic piece of history. Isn't that amazing?
Well, more amazing than I ever thought it'd happen.
Yeah. So I'll give you 13 grand for it. What do you reckon?
Oh yeah. What, that's just a sit in it, isn't it?
The Leyburn Sprints isn't just about racing and enjoying the odd spin out. No, for racer Liam Pelly, it's also about bringing the family along and having a fantastic weekend away.
It's camping really, camping with a bit of motorsport.
It's not super competitive, is it?
No, it's not. They're not real hard on us. I mean, it's more about everyone having a good time and coming back year after year, which we've been doing.
I like the name of your barbecue too, mate. It's my favourite show.
Now, speaking of camping, there is a huge area set aside for campers and caravanners, and there are also 1 or 2 accommodation options in town. But like me, most visitors stay the night in Warwick or surrounding towns and simply drive in. Warwick's only 70 k's away, so it doesn't take long to get into Leyburn. Okay, now back to the track, and owner of the Pit Stop Cafe, Eve.
Here she is. So how'd you go? Tell me.
Oh, that was really good.
Yeah?
I think it was a little bit faster than my first time.
Are we competitive? Because you were saying you're finally in a category where you could actually eke out a trophy.
Yeah.
Are we on course?
Yeah, I think I'm coming second in the group at the moment.
Hey. I've made a sneaky 50 on you, so I want trophies.
Oh, really?
I want results. Yeah, I'm backing him.
Well, I hope so.
The Leyburn Sprints is held in August each year, and it's a great weekend out for the whole family. There's food galore, race merchandise, entertainment for kids and markets, and then you've got the racing. Keep your eye on the Leyburn Sprints website next year for all the details. And if you're after more ideas of what to do in the area, then head over to the Darling Downs and Southern Downs Holidays websites.
Well, this was my one goal for the road trip, to sit in the stands of the Leyburn Sprints and watch these fantastic cars hammer around the track. And don't forget Sophie Mike and the team from the Great Southeast on your screens tomorrow at 5:30. Stick around though, 7 News up next, and we'll see you next week for more Queensland Weekender. Good night.
Our show is produced in partnership with Tourism Queensland, RACQ and Queensland Rail Holidays. Our vehicles are supplied and serviced by the Motorama Group. Next week, Dean and the kids explore spectacular Moreton Island.
Kids have taken off without me.
And I uncovered the artistic side of Stanthorpe.
I'm almost tempted to pick up a paintbrush myself, but I'm a little too comfy with my hot chocolate.